Thank you so much for the warm welcome introduction. It's my privilege to be part of this afternoon session. I'm happy to share my experiences and my thoughts via this session of mine. So I'll just quickly share my screen and we'll get going right away. I think nothing better than talking about how do we infuse technology into education on Saturday afternoon. By the way, this slide of mine here, as you see, it's my niece. She's 5 years old. But what you're seeing there is a glimpse of future, glimpse of how Gen Z and Gen Alpha would consume content. It didn't take me more than 3 minutes to tell her what she's about to see through the head-mounted device she's wearing. This is called HoloLens 2.0, and she would not take it off. She would not need any help after that. So that's future what we're seeing right now. Let's get going. Here's the thinking, right? So while we're talking about future of education, we're talking about digital universities. Yes, there is a lot to the term digital university in the current times, where digital transformation is spoken about with so much of I would say authenticity across the board in the current times, in the modern times, right? So, but I think it is interesting times. Last 18 months has taught all of us great lessons, and of course, thanks to technology, thanks to innovation that we see all around, right? And again, the pace of innovation has never been at its acme that we're seeing right now, right? We've been seeing innovation for decades, but what has happened in the last, I would say, 2 years in terms of platform providers like Microsoft, the amount of innovation that has happened from a company like Microsoft is unbelievable in the last 2 years. So it's truly a time where we're seeing significant progress in terms of innovation, significant progress in terms of design thinking and how educators are thinking about, or academic institutions thinking about transforming education in the future, how they're thinking about offering that experience that we all felt it's missing for a long time, and time has come for us to embrace that. Yeah. So in my next 20 minutes of talk, I'll bring in a few experiences. I'll also play a couple of videos. Of course, it'll be my voice, but I'll take you through what are these experiences for the future. You just saw a photo of my niece wearing a HoloLens, but I'll actually show you how a medical student would experience anatomy in the future. Of course, we're talking about digital university. There is very less prominence given to real estate there. So let's see how that becomes reality as we go along. Yeah. Now, these are facts. These are facts in terms of how what we witnessed in the last 18 months. Because of pandemic, there is a need for academic institutions, educators to continue to innovate to see how they can bring in experiences, how they can bring in content, which otherwise were delivered in a lot more traditional means, right? If you look at the numbers here, 1.5 billion students impacted. Of course, the number will be larger. This is all study probably in the context of the modern developed nations, but then if you look at students worldwide, they've missed the last 18 months of classroom learning. More than classroom learning, it's about elevating one's technical intellect or knowledge base itself, right? So that happens in a network environment, and that's something which is hugely missed in the current times. Of course, this also has made higher education institutions realize the need for, I would call it, blended learning. Hybrid is a term which we are using right now as a common denominator across the board, but blended learning, in my view, is the need of the hour. What does it really mean? Of course, you may choose to attend a class, attend your college or school on the days that you feel it helps you in terms of knowledge assimilation. On the days when you want to probably need that space for you to learn and also participate in your education, that's when you probably choose to be wherever you are, right? So hybrid learning in terms of consuming content in the classroom, consuming content wherever you are, with utmost focus on location independence is the need of the hour. Of course, there has been budget cuts because of pandemic. It's not been easy for academic institutions. In fact, my sister-in-law, she's a teacher. And of course, she teaches, I would say primary school students, but the challenges are omnipresent in terms of what educators went through in the last 18 months and what students went through the last 18 months. No easy task at all. And I a huge respect to all teachers, because end of the day, you basically had to confine yourself to a 15-inch or a 17-inch monitor to look at the I would say your students, which otherwise you would have seen them in the expanse of a real estate. So that's not easy task. But again, this is the dominant, I would say, entities we've seen the last. But again, time has come. Time has come to empower educators, empower students, right? And when we say future schools or future universities or digital universities, it is the need for us to infuse technology, enhance technology debt, right? I'll talk about what is all about, but let's move forward. Again, it's not going to be, it's not a unidimensional approach towards empowering academic institutions. It has to be done holistically, right? You just can't empower educators and probably, and leave out students. Students equally have to be empowered to with digital technologies so that experiential learning amplifies. There'll be a lot more focus on inclusiveness right now. See, today, if you look at universities where there's a limitation in the number of students who can probably present on the real estate on the campus. Now, with the digital universities, I think the boundaries are broken. The ability for students from tier 2, tier 3 cities to probably consume content which otherwise were restricted to students in tier 1, I think that's something which probably is a huge uptake when it comes to future of learning. Digital universities will bring that in the fore, right? So this is one visual I want to probably make it clear in terms of how collaboration will happen in the future, between educators and students. This is again, a visual which signifies one of the platform offerings from Microsoft called Mesh, right? But end of the day, when we talk about digital, I would say setup or universities, there's a need for every single participant, every single student, every single educator to feel the presence, right? Experience a sense of belonging, experience a sense of togetherness, right? Today, I think what all of us missed, right, as students and educators, what all of us missed is sense of belonging, sense of experiencing the sense of togetherness, right? Because when you go to the classroom, when you are in the premise, right, there is handshakes, there is connect, there is emotional connect, but otherwise all the stuff took a backseat in the last few months, but hence experience together is such a critical one. Of course, connect from anywhere, right? When we say digital university, we're not restricting ourselves to real estate, right? I may be anywhere on this planet, but if I've signed up to, if I'm signed up to be recipient of education from an academic institution, and you enable digital channels, I should be able to consume content from the comfort of my home or anywhere else, right? Again, choice of device, choice of place, and that's the future, right? Now, as I said earlier, this is basically the foundation of a platform called Mesh, but I like this thematic here. Here can be anywhere, right? If you're talking about digital university, if there's one common foundation, or if you look at the philosophy of foundation that should probably augment innovation, or that should probably a starting point of innovation, that probably should be the statement. If you think about here can be anywhere, if you look at the statement, such a profound statement, if you build on this philosophy, if you build on the statement, I think the construction becomes a lot more meaningful for educators and students, right? The approach has to be here can be anywhere, right? That's probably should be the foundation of institutions. Now, as I said earlier, it's all about experience. See, everything we're talking about right now, right? When we say digital university, while technology is central to enable that to make it a reality, if there's one element which stands out or which should stand out in my view, has to be experience. Today, we talk about visiting a campus, sitting in a classroom, interacting with our peers, interacting with our professors and lecturers. The reason why everybody likes that is because of experience, right? Now, when we shift gears from dominantly an in-person, on-site experience or learning to a digital environment, if there is one element that makes a difference, is experience, right? So students, educators, and user experience. By the way, I'm taking inspiration from what Gartner said in terms of customers, employees, and user experience in the enterprise world. But in the education academic world, it has to be students, educators, and user experience. right? Now, let's look at top business trends. We're talking about reinventing credentials, right? So, end of the day, what does it really mean? See, today we're talking about the need for continuous lifelong learning, right? Which in turn fuels a need for more marketable and more granular credentials, right? So now there's a need for us to reinvent how do we give accreditations to students. Second, of course, is analytics everywhere now because higher education institutions are part of honestly there is a significant pressure from regulators, parents, right, and to improve performance of an institution as well as students, right? And how do we bring analytics which will probably help us move forward? Very critical. Personalization, I think this is my personal favorite, because today I may know a language, I may not know a language, right? When I say language, it is about the spoken language, right? In a tier 2 city, let's say an example, in India, if you take Karnataka state, and we speak Kannada in Karnataka state. I'm from Bangalore. Now, if you go to tier 2 city, there are local language speaking schools, right? So many people, I would say, migrate to cities to seek education in English, as an example, right? So I should be able to be part of the same setup, English speaking school, but still I should be able to consume content which probably I understand, right? That's where personalization matters when it comes to diversity. And second, of course, when I say personalization, yes, I have my own pace of learning. Can education be personalized to my way of learning? Absolutely. That's what technology can do, right? And ranking, right? So this is also refers to international and national ranking list, right? End of the day, this is important because education ecosystem is expanding, and the global competition for talent, student and faculty, is only getting fiercer. So ranking matters in that context. So of course, when I said revenue diversification earlier, so in fact, what I mentioned earlier in terms of tier 1, tier 2 city students to be able to consume content, that's where you can look at as academic institutions. With digital universities, you should be able to empower a lot more students, which otherwise was restricted to specific students in a tier 1 city. Okay, looking at top technology trends, we talk about technology empowering academic institutions, right? Digital credentials. Today, of course, we have DigiWallet as an example. We store it there, but going forward, the need for us to look at credentials in a holistic fashion, because we're talking about experiential learning, we're talking about lifelong learning. Predictive analytics in terms of students' progress, AR, VR coming into perspective to offer experiential learning, next generation student information systems, right? Today, when you look at SIS, student information systems, they're all private to institution, right? But students' life is beyond an academic institution when it comes to lifelong learning. So how do we bring that into perspective? Of course, the most spoken term is AI. How can that bring in an experience? So now let's look at this. We talk about hybrid learning, which presents set of challenges, right? So we have understood this. This is something which is no-brainer. We understand in terms of what was missing, right? Community and presence. That's probably, in my view, is the bigger gap or gray area that has happened in the last, I would say, 24 months. Now let's look at how technology will influence digital university or future of education, right? If you look at this I would say trajectory, right? So from mainframes to personal computers to smartphones, of course, all of us are in the world of smartphones, because today we've seen pictures where people in rural part of the country, and even in the urban part of the country, people may not have, let's say, a personal computer, but they use smartphones to join a classroom and learn. Not a great experience smartphone for learning, but of course, no choice, that's what they do. But going forward, in fact, current decade, right, we start talking about a term called Metaverse, right? So we're talking about a shared virtual 3-dimensional space where everybody gets to network, learn, work, have fun, etc. So we are entering a world of AR, VR, and of course, mixed reality, right? Mixed reality extension of augmented reality, right? So this is where we are, right? We're talking about anytime, anywhere, any device experience, and academic institution probably might be the biggest beneficiary of the innovation that we've had so far, right? Let's look at, from now on, I'm going to take you through 4 to 5 experiences which are here and now, right? I'm not talking about future. I'm talking about experiences that are helping institutions, academic institutions, innovate for the future. And this is something which you can use it even today. Okay, let's talk about Let's look at this, right? So I mentioned mixed reality is actually helping address hybrid learning challenges. If you look at the top left, I'm going to show a short video of that. This is a picture of students, medical students, learning anatomy, right? Today, if you look at the field of medicine, students typically go to cadaver labs where they learn anatomy on a real human body. Now, in the current time, because of pandemic, etc., you don't have access to cadaver labs, and hence, wherever they are, can they bring in learning? Absolutely, that's what the top left vision. If you look at the middle one, remote labs, yes, there is a need for us to bring in the experience of not being in the physical setup, but yet you're able to experience. It's almost like a digital twin of that. Okay. Bottom left, virtual tours. This is something which will, if at all, there's a need for you to visit a campus and meet your academic, I would say, leads. You should do that in the virtual environment, right? We're talking about, virtual graduation, all the stuff, but that's where it is. So bottom right, virtual classroom, yes, that's the future, right? Depending on where I am, I'll probably be able to join a classroom on my device, which can be a laptop or a phone, which is two-dimensional experience. But of course, if you use AR, VR headgear, that will be a three-dimensional experience that you'll experience, right? Let's look at a couple of things. Natural language processing, yes, this is something which probably has reached human parity. That means you'll be able to, if there's a need for educators to understand what student is written in a classroom or an exam, NLP would come in significantly handy to make that reality. Conversation AI, yes, this is something which students, it would, in my view, conversation AI or a bot would be a student's digital buddy, right? You need a buddy in an environment where you can ask questions, get responses, and you don't have to have teacher available for you to ask a question. You should be able to ask a question 24/7. That's where the conversation AI, with utmost focus on speech, utmost focus on local language support, and automation in terms of knowledge dissemination would happen with conversation AI. Let's look at this. I mentioned I'll show a few videos. I'm going to take you to right away. Mixed reality. I mean, you can relate this to as augmented reality plus, right? Which is definitely going to help people relate to content probably in a much more better fashion, and retention would be enhanced by 50%. That's what the statistics has spoken about. Let's look at right away, right? This is me in the lab, right? I work in the technology center at Microsoft. This is in Bangalore, right? So I'm wearing a HoloLens, and what you want to see right now is a life-size view of the skeleton system anatomy. This is an app built by Case Western University in the US. This is for students in terms of the ability for them to get into any space. And I mean, I would say inability for them to go to cadaver lab, and ability for them to be there wherever they are and understand anatomy, right? Look, so this is the future. This is how you consume content, right? Imagine as a medical student, you don't have access to a cadaver lab. How else would you learn, right? This probably is the best way to consume content and understand, in this case, anatomy or a musculoskeletal system here right now, as you're seeing, as part of your learning. So this is an example. This is an example of how content will be consumed in the future. That way, if you talk about digital university, there's a need for academic institution to invest in creating content which probably will have more than one dimension, right? So, in fact, I've shown this to a lot of medical students, a lot of doctors, I would say. One word they've said, wish we had, one sentence they've said, wish we had something like this when we learned anatomy. We probably could have, our perspective would have been a lot more different. So, with that, if you look at it, yes, absolutely, going forward, medical students or any student for that matter, I'm giving an example of an anatomy, but it can be anybody, it can be any field, any content. This is how we'll consume content going forward. Yeah, this is one example. Of course, another example. Imagine you're a mechanical engineer, right? There's a need for you to learn. There's a need for you to learn a specific manufacturing equipment, right? Typically, you would go to a mechanical engineering lab where this will be physically available. But in the digital university, right, there's a need for you to consume content from wherever you are, right? Location independence. Now, look, so you're interacting with the setup. This is a digital twin of, let's say, an engine. This is an engine, by the way, right? And it can be automobile engine. Now, can you dismantle this and understand what are the internals of the system. Absolutely yes. Look, so this is a view of a student using this particular it's a mechanical device, exploring it in real time. And this is the future, my dear friends, and everybody, right? This is future. This is the future of how technology will amplify human ingenuity. This is the future of how academic institutions will probably offer content. This is how students will consume content, right? Again, thanks to technology, this is a reality today. Everything I'm showing right now, by the way, is not future. The future is absolutely here as we speak. Okay. Now, this is a quick example, right? This is something which probably is relatable to everybody. I'm going to bring in my screen here, right? So today, when we say blended learning or hybrid learning, you will have students joining in person in a classroom on the left-hand side. You'll have students joining online on the right-hand side, right? But as an educator, you need to have a holistic sense of who is joining where, do automatic attendance, understand their well-being, understand emotions in real time, right? This is the need of the hour, right? This is absolutely the need of the hour, because as an educator, you can't afford to focus on mundane things, which otherwise was easy in the physical world. But today, for example, if I want to basically fetch a student's emotion, let's say an example. A student has sat in the classroom for 30 days and another 30 days in online. I want to understand sentiment of the student for the 60 days, right? Should I get it? Absolutely, right? We're not making inference, by the way. We're talking about, hey, what's been the general sentiment of the student here? Absolutely possible in real time, right? That's one example. Now, last couple of examples. Now, we talk about digital university. Now, academic institutions will have, I would say, minimal real estate. And in that real estate, we'll have dominantly educators, professors, teachers, and they probably will be there and host students, right? This is an example of a whiteboard. Imagine I'm joining online. All of us are seeing online right now. Imagine the whiteboard. You're actually seeing a teacher or a professor writing on whiteboard, right? So typically in a classroom, it's easy because the field of view is adjusted so that students can see from wherever they are. With online world, when teacher is walking across the whiteboard, it becomes difficult for students to understand what they're writing, right? So imagine today we joined on a virtual environment. Now, if there's a whiteboard and if the professor starts writing on the board, right, as the professor walks across the content, that becomes opaque to me. But look, here it's transparent, right? This is the board. Teacher is writing on the wall, which is basically the whiteboard. And as they walk across the board, because that's the style of teaching, right? They walk across the board, the style of teaching. Now the content visibility has to be top notch. It's all about content and experience. I said earlier, the need of the hour is experience, and that's where innovations like these are seeing right now. See, I'm going to bring in a formula, right? And if the teacher walks across the whiteboard, that probably would be an opaque experience for me right now because of technology innovation, because of AI and computer vision. The whiteboard it will have a transparent overlay for people who join online, right? This is the experience we're talking about, which is going to light up our digital university as we go along. Now, yes, right? Virtual reality. Now, as we said, this is how all of us in future, I would say, dominantly Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they are the biggest beneficiaries of innovations we're seeing put to practice as we speak. And this is how they get to meet the peers, the fellow students. This is how they get to interact with the professors, right? Today, when we talk about an experience, it's a two-dimensional experience in the world we're in right now, which is where in the current virtual conferencing capability. But going forward, it will be no less than what you're seeing right now, right? This is a teacher across a whiteboard teaching a concept. Now, this is how students would probably do focus group meetings across different I would say focus groups. And again, right? This is the reality. What we're seeing is not scientific fiction, but it's a reality. Today, 99% of what is showed is in the public domain. Of course, the few innovations which is still around the corner, but this is where we are, right? Now, One last thing before I conclude my talk. If academic institutions, if they're thinking about constructing a digital university, I think there's one common thematic, right? That is to amplify tech intensity, right? Today, we, if you're looking at academic institutions, if there is a little bit of a struggle there in terms of, how do we take the content in the best possible form and disseminate in a much more experiential fashion, I think technology is something which will make a difference. And lack of technology is what is making them take a backseat. Now, these are 3 or 4 tenets which in my view defines future of education. Connected campus, right? You can have all sorts of technology, but if you're not bringing the sense of connectivity, earlier I mentioned one phrase, which is here can be anywhere, right? For here can be anywhere statement to be reality, it has to be a connected campus. Second, personalization, right? Each of us have our own way of consuming content. Can it be personalized for my pace of learning? Can it be personalized basis my knowledge base or my intellect? Absolutely yes. Number 3, localization, right? I earlier mentioned, end of the day, depending on, I would say, irrespective of your background, irrespective of what language right? Content you should localize it. And content consumption. Today, it happens in OTT platforms, right? They give you subtitling, irrespective of what language movie you're watching. That happened in the pandemic. That happened because of the fact that they wanted to diversify revenue, right? Revenue diversification is such a critical component going forward that academic institutions should be able to diversify the content, and hence they should be able to cater to larger portfolio of students as they go along. Okay, I think I just have 2 minutes, but my last statement before I leave: technology debt, right? There is a need for us to amplify tech debt. See, one of the bigger challenges we've seen enterprises, businesses talk about is how do we reduce technology debt, because they probably have adopted too much and they want to make sure they want to consolidate. They want to make sure they want to use the minimal tech to amplify outcome for them. But in the academic institutions, the need of the hour is to actually increase technology debt, right? So this is my perspective and a short perspective on future education, virtual digital university. With that, I think I'm on the hour, 2:15 sharp. Thank you so much. And I'm passing it back to the MC for the day. All of you stay safe and take care.